translate that further to say that Aina is aloha. What is Aina? Aina is, if you look out at the ocean, as far as you can see, to the land, all the way to the top of the mountain, to the cloud that brings the water, that feeds the land where you can grow and house your family, and the ocean that provides sustainable protein. So Aina sustains us. Aina is our ohana. What is ohana? Ohana is family. So Aina is de facto our ancestors, our ancestral place. And how do we treat our ancestors? With humility, with honor. We take care of our Aina. And when I heard the In Lahech Alakin, I immediately thought of the same way we in Hawaii think about the land that sustains us, the Aina that sustains us, that this is really the work that we're doing. And I felt so connected to this conference and all the work that you are doing. It's the same work that we're doing. And when we look out toward the future, that is the work we're doing. It's connecting all the individual activities and desires and intentions across the landscape of our individual and our collective lives from a global perspective. That is our work.
I'm privileged to participate in these discussions in Hawaii. I'm not Hawaiian, I'm actually Austrian, a few time zones away from Hawaii, but learned so much by having access to these indigenous communities, and they never lost the connection to the land and to the community, right? And many of us have. I have not totally, because where I was growing up, I roamed the mountains, and I felt like I'm really part of it and not outside. I learned how to read nature and weather and to be there, not to think you are there, right? It's a difference. And, Raul, on the question of where do we stand and where do we go, I fundamentally feel, sense, and believe that the impact investing ecosystem is at the critical juncture at an inflection point. We've accomplished a lot in the last 25 years. We've developed some tools, we've developed impact management capabilities, we have developed lots of products. And yet, if you look at where we stand in the context of the bigger macroeconomic issues and the global issues that are very present in the country that we choose to live in, very present here where we are as guests. What is our responsibility to contribute to that bigger change that has to happen and that has started to happen? The funny thing is, we know what to do. We know the principles of resiliency, circularity, regionality, social justice, and many more, regeneration. And we don't make them ours and demand that from our politicians in our societies. Why is that the case? Well, I believe it's a lack of consciousness and awareness. It's a level of awareness and consciousness that's not yet to the point where we feel and sense the responsibility of what it means to be human, as Lisa so beautifully articulated in the context of the indigenous Hawaiian community. We lost that. And unless we gain that back, I don't see any chance, to move these systems forward. Even so, these systems have been created by humans, somehow we don't get the courage to actually change that. So to me, the future lies in elevating that level of consciousness amongst all of us, including myself, including the communities that we work in, including the societies that we work in order for us to feel and sense that it is us that we are hurting and not somebody else with our systems. And sometimes we call that inner and outer transformation, mindset shift for systemic change. And the mindset shift starts with ourselves. There's nobody else who is responsible for our mind, for our soul, except for ourselves. Just like the impact of our lives is a direct expression of who we really are on that level, not an expression of our thoughts, not an expression of our feelings, it's an expression of our souls. That's what our life is. So is the future of humanity a direct expression of humanity's consciousness. And therefore it is so important to elevate that with everything that we have, body capital and the wealth that came our way, and who we are. And so my invitation, and where I see the deep connection amongst what we do and what you do and what you do is on that level of being human and taking on this responsibility together to change what we need to change, to create the future that we can see, but we need to create it. And I'm going to quote one of my favorite sayings from Hawaii, and that's when the Hawaiians sail to Tahiti or a different island, they don't say they sail to that island. They say that their consciousness is pulling out that island of the ocean, and that's what makes this island real. And that's what we need to do together, is pull out our future, our collective future, from our collective